I'm going to review Super Fire Pro Wrestling X Premium for the Super Nintendo. Now for me, this is hands down the best Super Nintendo game ever made. Okay, this one came out back in 1996, I believe, and it was released only in Japan. So even though everything here is in English, that's only because someone released a patch that made it English and I'm using that. Now one thing you're going to notice here, there are a ton of fighters in this game. And the great thing is, they actually fight like the wrestlers are supposed to be. It's not just a bunch of identical wrestlers. One of the cool things here is you'll find a couple of WWF and WCW wrestlers in the game. I'm not sure how they just grab wrestlers from other federations and just throw them in a game. But they do it. I guess they just change the name and they get away with it in Japan. Frankly, I wish every wrestling game was like this. Just characters from all over the world just put in one game. It's just so damn perfect like this. So, for any of you guys who are not familiar with this game, a game that you might be familiar with that's like this is the WWF games for the N64. It has a very similar control to that. This game also has a pretty good create a wrestler system. As you can see, I'm trying to create Bret Hart here. And once again, thanks to that patch, I'm able to read all these menus. You'll see there's a couple Japanese characters, but nothing enough to just ruin the experience by any means. So I went ahead and gave him the Scorpion Deathlock, which is the equivalent to the Sharpshooter. Right here he's fighting Ken Shamrock. This game just has tons and tons of wrestlers. This game also just has tons of moves, so I still haven't seen them all. You probably won't see them all unless you go to create a player mode. I mean, this is a Super Nintendo game, and I think it's fair to say it offers more than WWF No Mercy. If I had this game when I was a kid, I think I would have pulled over like 500 hours on it. This game just has ridiculous amounts of replay value. It's just so goddamn fun. This is just one of the greatest games ever, period. One thing I definitely love about this game, it has one of the best controls you'll ever play in a wrestling game. It's very easy to use. You don't have to push a button to turn to look at wrestlers. It's almost like a beat 'em up, but it's still a very complex wrestling game. Visually, this is only the Super Nintendo, pretty early game, not the most impressive graphics in the world, but I still think they look great. Now the characters aren't really drawn frame by frame. It's more so they're put together with sprites that just change depending on the move they're doing. And this is great because look how smooth they move when they're pulling off maneuvers. The way they're put together also allows them to move so freely that they can pretty much pull off any move. I mean, they can just do so much in this game. This is how every 2D wrestling game should be made. There's just so many shitty 2D wrestling games we still see put out on the Game Boy Advance. They should all be like this. They should all just steal from this. At least they would make decent games. Getting on that topic, there is a Fire Pro Wrestling for the Game Boy Advance. And it's good, but I don't know. I just like the Super Nintendo version better. It's still really good though. The best wrestling experience you're going to find on the Game Boy. There's also several others you'll find on the Super Nintendo, the TurboGrafx 16. I don't know, there's other ones out there. My recommendation, just go ahead and stick with this one. It was the latest and greatest of the time. Still plays awesome. The only ones I'm going to recommend over this is if you can get your hands on the PlayStation version, the Sega Saturn version, Dreamcast version. Those are awesome. Those even blow this game away. So you probably guessed it, I'm going to give this game an A. I just love this game. If you're a wrestling fan, it's just a must-have. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. You just don't enjoy games.